So being yanked out of the sport at the top of your game, that's rough. And it was really a spiral down. I mean, when I found out I had the disease in '99, it was so rare at that time. They ran tests for another year before they even confronted me and told me about it because they just wanted to be, I guess, sure because it was so rare at the time. And I remember, you know, being who I am, I just looked them in the face. I go, did I do this? You know, did I do this to myself based on what I use, what I've done? You know, if I pissed in a bed, then I got to sleep in it. Did I do this? And I'm like, no, 100%. I go, how do you know that? You know, how do you know? And I remember them saying, you know, there's a famous basketball player that has the same disease, and we know he didn't do what you did. And they wouldn't tell me his name then, but now I know what it is. It's Lonzo Mourning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, huh. I said, okay. And then later on, I started meeting families. You had kids that obviously didn't do what I did. Um, so, you know, I went into the hospital. Well, I found out I had the disease, and, you know, that was rough because all my contracts left. They ran like the Black Plague. You imagine you're paying an athlete to look a certain way, and there's a dark side to what they have to do, and now you have kidney failure. Please try to convince me it's not a correlation of what you're doing. You're lying. Of course it is. No, it's a rare kidney disease, and you know it's FSGS, focal glomerulosclerosis. Sure it is, son. So they all ran like the plague. So I just lost everything: my mansion, my cars, and I was trying to explain it, you know, to somebody at a time, you know. So I was fortunate. I had a really big house that people would come to and get lost, you know, if they went the wrong direction. And I was forced from that to have to go and stand with my mother-in-law in a 3-bedroom house that had 1 bathroom, and it was me and my ex-wife now, me, her, and our 2 kids living in a room in a single bed, all 3 of us laying in it, and her sister and her husband and their kids living in the other room, and our mother living in another room. So coming from that into there, not to mention I had my dialysis machine that I was dialysizing myself, and it was hell. It's like, wow, this is my life now. And I remember trying to explain to them, because they'd be like, why are you depressed? I'm like, because yeah, but you're here, Flex. I couldn't get that. I'm like, look at everything I lost. I'm like, why would that matter? I'm like, okay, so if you're this height and you fall, it hurts a certain amount. But if you're way up here and you fall, it is greater. And they were like, no, it's not. I'm like, of course it is. You're just saying that because you weren't up there. So anyway, fast forward, I get you know, a transplant soon because I was going to get dialyzed every other day for 3 hours, and at the time I was still around 260 pounds, so I was too heavy, and the kidney disease was getting more aggressive. So it got to the point where they wanted me to start coming in every day for 12 hours, and I just told them, I said, go F yourself. I'd rather die. He goes, no, this you're going to if you don't, and we're not sure if you're going to make it even if you do. I'm like, I don't have a life if I come in here and do that. I just rather just die. You know, that's no life to live. So I wasn't thinking about my kids or anything at the time. That was just the darkness I was in. And so fortunately I got a kidney transplant, and I thought that was great. But the girl who was my donor, it was a female, and she was very petite. And while I guess they had us out on a table, they discovered that the main artery to her kidney was short because she's tiny and I'm big. So they were going to put the kidney back in her and just stitch me back up. And I guess one of the surgeons, you know, had a great idea. Well, go into my main artery here and take it out and extend it and make, you know, the surgery work. Well, in the process of doing that, because I was not only weighing 260 pounds, but just probably at that time maybe 4%, so just muscular. You know, they use these huge clamps that open everything up, just like I guess a C-section. So in doing so, it killed the main artery here because I was clamped and it was, you know, pinched down for so long. So they got that to work But I ended up having, long story short, 9 surgeries in 11 weeks that I almost died from. And I was just, some of the most just blood curdling pain I ever experienced at that time. I was literally on oxycodone, which is one's a injectable and one's a pill. I was on a Demerol pump, and I had an epidural, that was contacted to my spine. I was just hallucinating. I was in la la land, literally. I mean, they took me from my hospital bed and put me into a mental institution on the other part of the hospital because I was just gone. And here we can backlash to what I was talking about, drugs. So instead of helping me, all they did was put me on more drugs. So we all know that when you're on a tremendous amount of painkillers, what happens? Depression. Oh, now we need to put you on antidepressant. Oh, that's not working. Let's switch you to this. And that spiraled. I ended up having a bad effect from that and just losing it. Just where, weeks would go by, and to me they're just seconds, and I would just hallucinate. I remember talking to my friends saying, what do you think of my dog? And I only know these things because they told me later. And I'm asking him, what do you think of my dog? And he's like, what dog, Flex? He goes, my dog. And I'm pointing at my foot. Even something more embarrassing, my niece was visiting me, and I'm asking her what color underwear you got on. And she didn't tell me till years later, and when she told me, I was sobbing. That's my niece. She goes, Uncle Kenny, I knew that wasn't you. That didn't bother me. And another time I was so hungry because they starved me because I was having all these tests done, right? And I was starving. Plus, I'm coming off of eating 8,000 calories a day to being just shut down. So I'm dying and I'm angry. Imagine when you're hungry. I'm angry and I'm hallucinating, and I'm opening the cabinets, and I'm getting everything out, and I'm making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I put it on. And only when I bite do I realize it ain't nothing there, which just sends me into more anger and enrage. So they put me into a mental institution, and, through arguments with them and just some of the things I seen in there with just people who have mental problems, a normal person just don't supposed to see that, and don't even supposed to see how they respond to those people. And I was arguing with them, and we discovered that 2 of the medications had an adverse effect that it said right on the label. Do not switch these 2 or mingle these 2 together, or else it causes this. And it goes, no, we don't think you're wrong. It goes, right there, read it. And as doctors, some are, no, you're wrong. And they came back, we think you're onto something. I'm like, I want out of here. No, you have to stay. I'm like, no, I want out of here. It goes, well, listen, you were suicidal before, so, you need help. I'm like, no, I beat that. This is you guys' fault. Well, just stay one more day and let's make sure. So the next day I even got better. So they just put me back in the other side of the hospital. So that was really hard. And I can't really explain it, but I remember my room was really dark. And to me, I thought it was a nurse, because nurse would come in and drawing blood at all times of the hour. And still I wonder, but this nurse came in and she just sat on my bed and she goes, what are you upset about? What are you feeling bad about yourself? Why are you pitying? I'm like, what do you mean? Look at me. Look at me. She goes, but look at everything you've done. You traveled the world. You made money. You won shows. Look at everything great you done. I go, but I ain't nothing now. Look at me. You need to stop feeling sorry for yourself. What about your kids? What about your family? You think of them? And I'm like, and I just remember waking up, and I was just my beginning to stop the flight and start to fight. And when I got to the hospital, I had to go see the doctors every 3 months. It was really critical. And I remember them because I'm dyslexic. I'm very good with remembering words and what you say, and how to put that back to you. If you say something, I'm going to lock in on your words and I'm going to use them because that's your language. I know you'll understand it that way. And I remember the doctors, they're like, their cadence, the way they would talk to me was always the same, and always the same. And do you feel this? Does this happen? This, that, now? And then finally, like after, I think my 3rd visit, so that's 3, 6, 9 months. I'm like, why do you keep asking me these questions? Why do you keep doing that? Well, we just need to know. No, why do you keep doing that? it doesn't matter. I'm like, it does matter. Why do you keep asking me that? Well, it's just a chance that, you might have a relapse. I'm like, what do you mean by that? It doesn't matter. We don't need to talk about it. Yeah, we do. This is my life. Why are you doing that? Well, Flex, the disease doesn't go away. I'm like, what do you mean? I had a kidney transplant. He goes, this is not like a heart transplant where you get a new heart and you're fine. He goes, the disease ravished your kidney. It's not in your kidney. It's still in you. I go, so what are you saying? And, he cut the conversation off and I got angry and I got hostile. I'm like, no, you're going to effing tell me this is my life. He goes, well, you'll have to have another transplant. I go, what do you mean by that? He goes, your disease will ravish this kidney. I go, so you're saying I got to go through this all over again? Yeah, but don't worry about it. You've been through it. You're a kidney transplant patient. You'll be fine. I go, no. I go, that's like telling a woman, you're going to give birth again, even though you almost died 9 times giving birth to your last child. She'll probably opt out and say, I'm good. I'm not going to have any more kids. So you're telling me I'm going to have to go? He goes, well, you don't know that it's not going to happen. I go, but I do know that it's possible because I went through it. And I went home and I was just in a state of depression. Like, man, I thought I was done. You telling me, I think I laid in bed for maybe 3 days, allowing Kenny to just beat my ass, like the old days. You get it?
Yeah.
And I got tired and angry with just the pity crap. And I said, you know what? Okay, if this is going to happen, it's going to have to come and get me. I'm going to get up. I'm going to go live my life. I'm going to get back in shape. When it knocks on the door, I'm not answering. I'm out somewhere. It's going to have to come and find me. I'm not going to just sit here and let this just come and just happen. Like, hey, how you doing? Come on in. I'm like, I'm going to fight.